I know you're all. And I'm gonna let Marty get a few bites in before I invite him to do our inspiration. Terry has agreed to do our Rotary Minute. Morning, Terry. You're muted.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Sign out this.
All right, Terry, we're ready for you. Maybe you can't hear me. Terry, can you hear me?
Just barely, yes. So you ready for my Rotary Minute?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this looks at a policy that's existed for a long time that probably most of us new members doesn't know it exists, but I'll read the brief statement of policy. It's called tolerance of differences. Occasionally, there's a temptation to criticize the laws, customs, and traditions of another country, which may seem strange or contrary to our own. In some instances, illegal practices or customs of one nation are completely lawful and acceptable in another. As members of an international organization dedicated to world understanding and peace, it behooves Rotarians to exercise restraint in judging our Rotary friends and citizens from other countries when their behavior seems unusual to us. A Rotary policy has existed for more than half a century relating to this dilemma of international relationships. The statement, adopted in 1933, says that because it is recognized that some activities and local customs may be legal and customary in some countries and not in others, Rotarians should be guided by this admonition of tolerance. And it quotes, Rotarians in all countries should recognize these facts, and there should be a thoughtful avoidance of criticism of the laws and customs of one country by the Rotarians of another country. End of quote. The policy also cautions against any effort on the part of Rotarians of one country to interfere with the laws or customs of another country. As we strive to strengthen the bonds of understanding, goodwill, and friendship, these policies will provide good advice and guidance. So as we seek a more diverse membership in our own club, this is probably good advice, not just for laws and customs of and traditions of other countries, but the opinions of our fellow Rotarians or people that we'd like to have as Rotarians, and give everybody an equal chance. So that's my minute this morning.
Thank you, Terry. It's always good to be reminded of the humanitarianism of this organization. Not that it's not obvious to some of us, but it's good to know that there are principles in this organization that we all try to live by. So our inspiration this morning is Marty Lewinter.
Right. I'll explain this later. Right. So some of you may know I'm a huge Monty Python fan, and I find great inspiration in Monty Python. And so the fifth Monty Python and last Monty Python film was The Meaning of Life. And in the middle of the film, and that section of the film is called The Middle of the Film, we finally get to the meaning of life, which is not the meaning of life as much as how to live a meaningful life. And the sort of announcer, just for no particular reason, gives this this testimony, if you like. So the meaning of life, it's nothing very special. Try to be nice to people, avoid eating fat, read a good book every now and then, get some walking in, and try and live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations. So I thought that was a very nice, straightforward, simple way to make a good point or points.
Sounds a little bit like Monty Python is sort of an ersatz Rotarian.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
That's
Can you sing it the song?
Always look on the
Bright side of life, right? Can everybody who's online hear us okay? Yes? Okay, all right. So I just want to do two little business things before our speaker. Last week, we talked about Whitney Hill needing some help to move somebody. We no longer are needed to do that. So thank you all for being willing to help. And please bust your plates before 8 o'clock. And please don't put the only paper products in the compost are napkins. No cups in the compost, okay? Okay, Sherry.
All right. Okay, so some of you might already know Hans. This is Hans Buehler. Hans moved to Williston in 2002 and immediately discovered Catamount, the Catamount Family Center. In April of 2017, Hans was invited to join the Catamount Outdoor Family Center Board of Directors and has served as secretary, president, and currently interim treasurer. Sounds like Rotary. You get to do it. You get to do it all. Although I've done none of it yet, but eventually. You'll find Hans, his wife, and 3 kids at Catamount frequently. Betty, who's 16, works in customer service. Luke, 14, is counselor in training. And Ezra, 9, attends camps. And all of them participate in weekly running and bike races. When Hans is not at Catamount, he works at GE Healthcare as a commercial operations director, and he takes time to enjoy the Vermont outdoors across the state with hiking, skiing, biking, and camping. Today's topic is Catamount Outdoor Family Center's mission and vision and a 2022 overview. So with that, Hans.
Thanks, Sherry. Thanks so much for having me here today. I was going to ask how much time I have, but now I know you have to bust your plates by 8 a.m. So I'll finish by then, I guess, right?
Well, if you could finish by 8, we'll have questions after that.
Okay, that'd be great. Okay, we're not leaving it. Okay, I won't rush terribly then. Okay. Well, great. So first, a couple things about Catamount. I'll today be talking about the Catamount Outdoor Family Center. But there's also now the Catamount Community Forest. So if somebody says Catamount, it's a little confusing which one we're talking about, but they're 2 groups that work together. So briefly, Catamount is the Outdoor Family Center is a nonprofit. We operate with a board of directors and a staff to run events and activities and take care of the property of the Catamount Community Forest. Now there's also a newer Catamount Community Forest Town Committee. That's a committee made up of a group of volunteer community members appointed by the select board for, I think, 2-year terms, maybe different terms. And that is in charge of taking care of the property as a whole. And that involves a forest management plan, which I think Ethan Tapper's your speaker next week. So I'm sure he'll talk to you about a lot. Hopefully he'll tell you a little bit about Catamount too. But he's involved in a lot of the town forests, and he's wonderful. I really enjoy hearing from Ethan and all he has to say. And every time there's a walk at Catamount to learn about invasives, I'll go and be with him. Yeah, I was gonna figure out. I didn't know much about Rotary, but now that I'm seeing what it's about, I'm like, oh, this seems like a nice group to be involved with. Yeah, there you go. Breakfast. And I think and the CCF has gotten involved in other ways from their own members' personal interests, which include birding. So there's a lot of new blue bird boxes and wood duck boxes. So the CCF really is in charge of the property overall, but Catamount runs it from the Outdoor Family Center, the nonprofit, which I'll talk to you about today, runs it from a day-to-day point of view with events and activities. Good. Let me jump now into the main part of my presentation. I'll split into 3 sections. The beginnings of Catamount, recent and current state. I thought I might share something on my screen, but I think I'll be too distracted, so I'm just going to talk. The beginnings, recent and current state, and finally the future. So first, the beginnings. Jim and Lucy McCullough, who I'm sure anybody that lives in Williston has known Jim in many different ways as their state representative and other things. They started the Catamount Outdoor Family Center as a cross-country ski center in 1978 as a way to utilize the unique 500-acre property. I'll mention now the CCF has the town forest is most of the land that the Outdoor Family Center operates, but there's also 4 additional landowners, including Jim and Lucy, and 3 others, where the trails go on their property. So the Outdoor Family Center has an additional agreement with those landowners, and that's the entire trail network that we have. And in fact, I think I will share my screen just so you can stare at a trail network. I'm sharing Google Chrome. I click share, and I go to, how do I make the screen share bar is in my way. I have to, here we go. So here are the trails at Catamount. This is Trail Forks. It's an application that allows you to track your activities. It's a GPS in case you get lost. You'll be able to find your way around. It'll pinpoint you right here on the trails. But these are the winter trails. But you can. We also have a toggle where you can flip to the Nordic ski trails. So now the Nordic ski trails are highlighted. In the upper left, that's a very unique section of land here. It's completely flat. So for mountain biking, for cross-country skiing, it is perfect for beginners. There's trails like Pure Bliss and Liquid Velvet. These trails are very smooth, perfect for kids to get started. As well, the cross-country ski trail Sandman and Woods Trace is not too steep. Up on the right, you get up to the Lookout, and these trails get quite steep, so they're black, meaning expert. And then across the way, a lot of these trails go through the fields, some through the woods, but these are the Nordic trails. And then I'll toggle back to the mountain bike and hiking and running trails. So you can see all those spaghetti single track trails then displaying and filtering in there as well. So that's the land. And that's the land that Jim and Lucy had to work with. And as they started building the Catamount Outdoor Family Center, they experimented in all types of different activities and events, trying to build this family business. They looked to get more people outdoors for a healthy lifestyle, and that has remained consistent. And I'll tell you our current mission and vision in just a moment. But they had the first, among a variety of events they've had, they had the first Spartan race. It's this extreme race where you're running through mud and swimming and doing all sorts of crazy activities. Which this event happened just once at Catamount. People were swimming across the pond, if you've been there, made a terrible mess of mud. They decided maybe that wasn't the best location. This event is now held at Killington. It draws 10,000 people on a certain weekend in the summer. The whole place is closed down. So that had it start at Catamount. Jim told me that he had initially, for a brief period of time, motocross, I think, like motorized dirt bikes, and there's some jumps, really big jumps there that we've revived recently for mountain bikes. They had a variety of pro bike races. The XCT Pro Tour was one. I have a video of my 14-year-old as like a 6-year-old standing there watching the racers come flying by over jumps. There was a Bramble Scramble 30-kilometer running race, which I found a nice blog post online. I think 2011 might have been the last time that was held. And then finally, I found, this was most interesting to me. On YouTube, I found a cross-country ski, I don't know what to call it, event from the mid-'80s where there was a man trying to set a world record, I think, for how far somebody could ski in one day. So they showed this guy like barely able to walk at the end of his day, like, plodding around skiing. That was back before they had invented, I guess, skate skiing. So he was doing the classic type of cross-country skiing. So that was a really fun video. It was a news segment that somebody put on YouTube that I was able to find. When mountain biking came along, Catamount was early to the game, adding mountain bike races and trails. And many riders, including Sherry, just told me that they remember some of their early moments of mountain biking here being at Catamount. And for a while, it was one of the only games in town. Now there's trails all over the state for mountain biking. So in my view, as I look at Catamount and contemplate what Jim put together here, they found this magical formulation of things that worked, things that drew people out, things that fit their values and mission, and that provided a year-round operation such that there could be year-round staff with this small business. Then in 2005, Catamount became a nonprofit. I'm sure Jim was thinking ahead. Catamount became a nonprofit. And instead of a family, only a family business, they added the board of directors for strategic guidance and management. So I think about Catamount and all those pieces of the puzzle to have a year-round staff. It's just, I look at it and I'm excited about, like, wow, they put that together. If you didn't have cross-country skiing, then we'd have to close down in the winter. If they didn't have the summer camps, the property wouldn't be used as much in the summer, and the revenue, we couldn't have a full-time staff and the seasonal staff. So I look at it just as this magical collection, and any one piece, if you took it out, which one year in the not too distant past, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, we had no winter, at least here. It was terrible. So the revenue took a huge hit that winter for cross-country skiing. And that was a struggle. So as we look forward, and I'll get to the future, you know, any one of those pieces is really part of the equation to keep the Outdoor Family Center, the nonprofit, vibrant. Okay, now I'll move to the present. And Catamount's mission and vision today is create outdoor experiences at the Catamount Community Forest that build active lifestyles, friendships, and environmental awareness. The vision, which is something we strive for and would never achieve, that's the idea of what a vision is. We envision a community in which playing in nature is everyone's first choice. I mentioned the organization, the board of directors. Okay, we also have an executive director. So we have 3 full-time staff, an executive director, a programs and events manager, Amanda, and a trails and facility manager, his name's Andy. Now, our executive director position, we currently are recruiting and interviewing. Tomorrow we have interviews with some really good candidates. Kim Stinson is leaving after 3 years. She did a phenomenal job bringing us through COVID, modernizing our IT systems, taking things to the cloud, getting new, you know, all sorts of new things put together. I'll talk more about COVID in a little bit here, but that went very well with Kim, and we were very thankful for the leadership she had while she was here. She's going on to, if you read the Williston Observer article, you would know she's going on to work with horses, which is her passion. She's leading programs and events for a horse. I'm not a horse person, like a horse stable. So she'll get to be with horses all day long instead of dealing with some administrative items that you have to do to keep Catamount running. So she's really excited, and we're excited for her. So Catamount, and then we also have seasonal staff, maybe 30 people or more, camps and clinics, lessons, and the customer service staff. Okay, so now if you think about Catamount as, I mentioned some of the operations already, but from a financial point of view, the revenue really comes from 3 primary sources. One place it doesn't come from is from pedestrians. When Catamount became a town forest, pedestrian use became free, which is wonderful that now more people can access the property and it fulfills the mission here more, but it wasn't so good on the revenue side. So we were a little worried on that, but maybe it was a mix of COVID and everybody wanting to be outside. Somehow all the other revenue sources have closed any gap we thought we might have had. So what we do have with the sources of revenue is 3 main, I'm getting a little out of order, forgive me. Okay, good. 3 main areas for the source of revenue, and it's about a third. So the first is winter, just simply cross-country skiing with annual passes and day passes and rentals. There's crazy busy weekends when we just blow the doors off. There's no parking. Unfortunately, sometimes people park up and down the street, not usually on both sides of the street. Winter is about a third of the revenue there. And that's really just the use. It's the grooming of the trails is the expense, and then the use is renting the cross-country skiing. Snowshoeing is free though. So, well, we do rent snowshoes. So if you ever come and you want a snowshoe, that's free. If you want to ski and whatever you do, don't snowshoe on the cross-country ski trails. The skiers do not like that. And all the effort putting into having a beautiful groomed surface, it goes to waste. Okay, the second is kids camps. And then I'll tell you the third, and then I'll get into the camps a bit. The third is other summer activities. So with kids camps, all summer you'll find about 3 camps running on any given day during the week. And that's really limited by our indoor capacity. If there's thunderstorms, we need room to bring the kids indoors. We probably could have more camps, but it's really limited by what if there's thunder and lightning, you need somewhere to put the kids. The Catamount camps include bike camps, running camps, and new this year was something called the Explorer Camp, which is for kids that maybe aren't so interested in bikes or running. And it's really just getting out into the woods and exploring with an educational bent to it of the environment. And Amanda she's our program and events coordinator. She leads that, and she has a good experience and background in education. So that's been very good. That Explorer Camp also was made available during the spring breaks, and a snow camp was made available during the winter breaks and ongoing as a weekly, once a week activity for kids. There's something called Snow School, which Kim could tell you more about. She got us Catamount involved with that. It's an official program. It's official curriculum, learning about watershed, learning about snow, maybe the water cycle. I should probably learn more about it, but we're officially a Snow School certified location, and that has lent itself to some very engaging activities that kids are in with camps. Also, Little Bellas, an outside organization, puts on girls' bike camps at Catamount. So they maybe have one of those camp slots each week, but they also wanted to expand, and they with our limitation of around 3 camps a week, they added, I think, a Thursday night program and a Sunday night program. So just really trying to figure out how to fit things in. But on any given day in the summer, there's something going on at Catamount. Now, finally, third, so we had winter, we had kids camps, and the third leg of the stool for the organization is summer activities. There are 3 race series. There's a trail running series and a mountain bike running series. That's a Tuesday night race and a Wednesday night weekly race. That goes from the end of May to the end of August. The running goes a little bit into September. And then the third race series is called Cyclocross, which is a funny mountain bike race, or it's a funny bike race, not mountain bike race. If you've never seen it, the people jump off their bikes and carry them and jump over barriers and run up hills. It's a very funny type of a race. You don't even know how many laps the race is going to be until they complete the first lap. The race is supposed to be 45 minutes long. And when you see how fast they do the first lap, you decide how many laps it is. And then when the winner finishes, everybody else has to just stop. You don't even get to do the full number of laps if you're too slow. So needless to say, when I participate in that, I don't ever get to do the full number of laps. So those are the race series. These race series have a very broad appeal from families with young kids to pro bike racers. I mean, the competitive racers that come are unbelievable. These are the guys that go to nationals and they go abroad into Austria and they place well, like internationally, nationally. It's amazing just to watch these guys fly by. And then at the same time, you've got these kids on Strider bikes doing the Cubby race, which you just go around a little loop. Then there's a half lap race, a 1 lap race, 2, 3, and 4. 4 laps is it's about a 3-mile lap. The 4 lap race is what the competitive riders do. So it's very fun to see the broad diversity there. And like Sherry said in my intro, my family goes to every single one of them. They're attendance-based awards. So you don't need to be fast. You just need to come. So at the end of the season, if you've made every race, you get to go up to the prize table, which is quite fun. And, like get a pair of socks or a water, I don't know, just fun little prizes. Okay, so we're in this third section of revenue. We talked about the race series. There's mountain bike trail revenue from the trail memberships, rental bikes, and then there's outside event fees from operators like the Green Mountain Cyclocross. They're putting on a race at Catamount, so they pay us a certain fee, for use of the property, as well as help from us to get things set up and managed. Good. So that is what Catamount is, a third. Winter camps and then summer activities. So I mentioned the trails already. There's 26 miles of trails, double track and single track. And I already showed you on Trail Forks. Maintaining these trails is quite a bit of work, but it's like I talked about, this magical formulation. We maintain the trails, and then that's a shared expense for all of these activities. If you didn't have good maintained trails, you couldn't do camps. If you didn't have well-maintained trails with logs getting cut out of the trail if they fall down, you know, on a daily basis, then the race will have problems. The race, of course, will come upon a tree, and then what? And then in the winter, of course, you know, the trails need maintenance as well. In terms of expenses to operate the nonprofit, most of the expenses are staff. And hiring great people is the board hires the executive director. The executive director is then hiring all the additional staff and the seasonal workers. And then finally, we have a number of pieces of equipment to run the operation. We recently purchased a new Ginsu groomer. It sounds really nice. It's a snow groomer with track setting for Nordic. We also then last year got a roller. So with limited snow, there's a roller that you can pull behind and it packs the snow down. And packed snow will melt slower than unpacked snow. So the faster we can get out there and pack that snow down, this roller does a nice job of that. Our four-wheeler just broke. We're going to buy a new four-wheeler here soon. So you get a sense of the kind of equipment that we have. And as well, things like chainsaws and leaf blowers and those types of things. Oh, and then we're also replacing our cross-country rental fleet. If anybody's a skier out there, all of our equipment used an old binding and boot type called SNS. It's kind of like Betamax lost to the VCR tape, right? Like SNS lost to the new format, which is NNN. So brand new fleet of cross-country skis coming in this fall. We had to really work hard with the supply chain constraints to get that secured, but that's coming. So that just facilitates the mission of making it easy for people to get out. You don't need to buy the gear, just show up, rent it, and head on out on the trails. I think we were looking to sell it as to recoup some of the cost of, I mean, I'm sure it'll go pretty cheap. But when the new stuff comes in, maybe in the fall, we'll advertise to sell it. But again, it's the old type of binding, so a lot of people might not even want it. So finally, I'll say in the current day and age, it requires us to be quite flexible and creative. With thunderstorms for races and camps, we have to be agile about what to do. Velco, Vermont Electric Company, closed down the power line to replace poles. So then we had to know when they were coming and not do the race course that goes under the power lines. That was last summer and this summer. There's a farmer that the CCF committee manages that mows the south side of the property. So when he's going to come to mow and then he did fertilizer, we can't do the race on that side. So it's always kind of staying on your toes and communicating with people what the plan is. And then with COVID, we turned to a virtual race format. And we like to think that like Sleepy Hollow and Bolton copied our idea because we did it first. And we shifted the customer service over to the building right in the parking lot instead of having people come inside across the street. So, you know, just staying agile and then trying to adjust and keep some of those good things that came from COVID, but then get back to normal as much as we could. So you need to take your plates up. Did anybody? I didn't take my plate up.
We didn't know if you still wanted to eat or not.
I would, but I feel bad that my plate's still there. Okay, I'll wash it if I need to. So this is the third and final part of my talk, and that is the future for Catamount. So first, we have a lease renewal. The town has leased the land to the Catamount Outdoor Family Center for 5 years only to start, and that lease is coming up in the coming year. We hope this fall we'll have that all nailed down because we're going to sell annual memberships. And if we sell an annual membership and don't even know we have use of the land, I think there shouldn't be any big obstacles to that. I think the relationship has been good with the town, and we're looking forward to renewing it for another period of time. We have the CCF Forest Management Plan, which I'm sure Ethan will tell you a lot more about. But in 2023, there's going to be logging in the fall. in that area in the upper right of the map that I showed you. So we'll have to close those trails down in August and hope they get back to shape well enough for winter, for skiing. And then there's some more logging, I think, in 2026. And one of the challenges there will be the trail restoration. The town is on the hook to fund restoring the trails to their original state from before when the logging was done. So we'll have a lot of work together with the town for that. Buildings, that's in the future for Catamount, we hope. So currently we have a lease with the McCulloughs for office space, the kind of the lodge, the camp headquarters. That's, if you look at their house, it's the right half of it. That's all the rented space. But we can't really necessarily assume that will be available forever. So we start to worry about where are we going to put these kids when there's thunderstorms. We have recently got the hub building, the customer service desk in over to the parking lot, a new rental. We called it the new barn. There's the old barn too, which is a historic building. But looking forward, we really need to figure out what to do for a building. And we'll continue to talk with the town about that as well. Turn the page. Trail access. So access to the south trails is actually via the McCullough's driveway. So just like we can't necessarily plan on having their use of their half of their house indefinitely, we can't plan on using their driveway indefinitely. So there's actually a right of way that needs a trail built further toward North Williston Road from their house. So that will be a new access to make sure that access to those trails continues. Again, working with the town to do that. And then continue to find new ways to fulfill the mission of the nonprofit. So those might be more camps, they might be different activities, evolving the activities we have. We'll be putting together kind of a refreshed strategic plan when we get a new executive director on board. But again, the whole goal is to create outdoor experiences at the town-owned Catamount Community Forest that build active lifestyles, friendships, and environmental awareness. I'll leave you with a few things of how you might get involved. First, just come out and help us fulfill our mission by you becoming active at the Catamount Outdoor Family Center, whether you're renting skis to ski in the winter. We also do an annual drive for donations. You can donate anytime on the website. You can buy a membership. You can volunteer. We have volunteer sign up on our webpage. Yeah, and then lastly, just come on out and check it out. Pedestrians are free. The Sandman Trail is a gravel loop. My wife and I did that for our wedding anniversary date, just the two of us. We left the kids alone. So I guarantee, even if you're going to go for a nice little stroll, you'll see beautiful wildlife and really be blessed by the resource that we have of the Catamount Community Forest. Thanks. Questions? Yeah, parking is one of the limiting factors. We had attempted to host, historically, they had hosted the cross-country running race from the middle school. And this past year, we hosted that again. But the parking was overrun. So we're not going to be able to host the middle school cross-country, sort of like the local cross-country championship running race. So that's out of the question. The McCulloughs have an overflow. It's their property. It's the old speed skating oval. So we still have use of that as part of our lease, but even that would go away. So yeah, the parking is definitely a limiting constraint on the size of events we can do. Most of our events do fit in with that, the parking on those two areas. But some things we have to turn away. So that's one limiting factor. Although we have more parking than Mud Pond.
Do you have any birding events? Because you mentioned the duck boxes and bluebird boxes. Do they have like a birding orientation person?
The Terry Marin, did I say her last name right? Terry's wonderful. The CCF committee itself has more expertise and enthusiasm in birding and really has added that. So a lot of those activities are probably through the CCF the individuals that are on that committee. But the Outdoor Family Center doesn't currently have any birding events. I mean, like I said, Catamount's a nonprofit and we have to cover expenses. And so far we haven't decided that we could cover our costs running birding events. Because they're often available free.
Some certification and some program that people, when you have a lot of land, you can connect with Audubon.
Yeah, yeah, and that could be part of our future. Thinking about how we can expand programs and things we can add.
One of the questions I have is about the time that the town actually purchased the property. Pine Ridge School, which used to be in existence, is going to change ownership. And part of that whole deal was all the trails that Pine Ridge already had. And I know they come pretty close to where you are, and I think in between is UVM has a little piece too.
Yep.
Is there any action on that to kind of connect those three parts?
Yeah, good question. And I don't know if those on the Zoom meeting could hear the question. It was about the Pine Ridge land and UVM Talcott Forest and trails there that could connect with CCF. My answer would be, I walked the trails with Jim. There's actually a right of way on the horse farmer's property that was provided a number of years ago that should allow access from the CCF to Pine Ridge. That right of way has not had trails developed, and I don't think there's any active plans to exercise that right of way. I don't think there's willingness on some sides to exercise that right of way. There is a route through the CCF or through the Talcott Forest. I've walked it. And the trails at the Pine Ridge are in not very good shape. I walked them a couple of years ago. Like, somebody needs to maintain them. So I kind of poked Melinda Scott with the town, although she's in a new job now. But I poked her a number of times, like, what are we doing with Pine Ridge? We got to do something over there. But we would love to see that. And I think the Outdoor Family Center would be happy to, participate, fundraise, trying to make something happen for some kind of connections, even if it's just hiking. But there was a study, I think some UVM students did a study on what to do with Pine Ridge. I don't remember the results of the study. But to me, it's an open opportunity, and it's a shame, right? The town has this Pine Ridge, but it's not readily accessible. There's no good parking. So if you could get to it from Catamount, then at least there would be some parking and make use of that land. Good question. Thanks. Anything else?
Service opportunities for our club. Do you have volunteers ever come out to do trail maintenance?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. We have a couple of that, and then that's actually the easiest way to do it, because you bring a group, and then we have Andy, our trails and facilities manager, just have projects ready for you to go. And that would be some good trail work or other activities. So we would love that. Dealer.com is one of our sponsors. They bring out a set of employees. I think we've had a number of other companies. REI has come out. Right before they opened the REI store, they brought all their employees to Catamount a few years ago for a nice volunteer. But that would be wonderful. We would welcome that.
To get in touch with Andy, and just go on the website and find out how to contact him.
Yeah, or any of the whatever emails on the website, you could contact Catamount, or even go to the volunteer form and fill in something there. Yeah, good. All right, we'll hope to see you there.
Hans, thank you so much. This
Thank
is
you.
fascinating, because I think most of us don't know even part of these details, but we know about the forest, we know about the setup.
About using that.
About music.
Jim
Yeah.
was a member of our club for quite some time.
I don't doubt it. That's great. That's good.
So Hans, as a token of our appreciation for your time and expertise, the Rotary will be making a donation in your honor to the Connecting Youth Mentoring Program at the Williston Central School.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you,
Appreciate
Thanks
that.
very much
Great.
for your time. Sorry.
And I have an apology to offer to our guests. I didn't mention our guests. Elena's here with Mom, Elizabeth, and Mackenzie's here with Grandpa. Welcome. I feel like we have we're sort of adoptive grandparents for the winter grandchildren. So Susan, I'm gonna give you a little time here to talk a bit from the PR committee.
Hi, everybody. Just a couple of quick updates. As you know, we're planning to have a booth at next Tuesday's Isham Farm Market. And it looks like we have enough folks signed up for that, and the displays are mostly ready to go. We're still ironing out a few details, but looking forward to that. And if anybody didn't sign up but wants to come by, I'd really encourage you to do so. That would be fun and a chance to see what we're doing and think about whether you'd like to participate in a future event. One of the things that we prepared for those events, but also could be used by any of us as we encounter people that we might want to invite to join us. We've created these kind of business or prospective member cards. And we've got lots of them, so everyone can take some and keep them in your wallet. And it gives the basic kind of contact info about our club and a QR code that will lead folks to our website on the front. There's enough space in the middle of the card so you can write your name and your your phone number or email address if you want to. And then on the back is just a kind of a standard explanation of what Rotary is that was taken from the Rotary International brand site. So I've got a whole box of these and would love it if everybody grabbed a few, and we'll have plenty available probably for a few years, given how many I printed. So that's it. And hopefully we'll see folks next Tuesday. And the Isham Farm Market is from 4 to 7. They've shifted the hours forward a little bit as the year goes along.
And your display is on the back.
Oh, yes. And I brought in, for those who are here, I brought in what our display will be on the table, and it's set up behind the wall here. So if you haven't already taken a look, please do so and take a look. Oh, Leslie, sorry.
No problem. Thank you all so much. That's so exciting. And I did want to let you know that we do have a Rotary canopy. We found it in the space behind, or in the storage space in the barn behind the church. We did set it up and it does need a little work. The canopy itself is fine. The frame has a few issues. So we're going to see if we can get that fixed. But in the meantime, we certainly have one that you can borrow.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Was there Jude?
A question, what are the times for the different shifts then?
Yes, let me
Just to clarify.
remind myself so I say the right thing. The time for the shifts, the first shift is 3:30 to 5:30. And Jude, you are signed up for that one. So that gives us a half hour to set up before folks start arriving for the farm market. And then the second shift is 5:30 to 7:30. So again, giving time to break down the booth after we're done. And we'll figure out how we get all the materials there and then where they go at the end. I'll reach out to the folks who volunteered to sort out the logistics of that. And I'll connect with Leslie to make sure we've got our canopy. The tables are sorted and the materials are sorted. Vince had gotten the, one of the things we're gonna do is have some engraved rocks available to give out to people with kind of inspirational words on them. And then we also have blank rocks and paints. So we can invite people to come and paint a rock. It sounds a little silly, but I think it's gonna be fun and a really fun way to engage with people of all ages at our booth.
Thank you. Great.
Mhm.
Thanks. Now, Sergeant Arms, you're up.